All right, let's just jump right in. We're about to unpack a really fascinating and, let's be honest, kind of weird idea. What if the secret to getting more done is to actually stop trying so hard? I know, it sounds completely backward, right? But stick with me, because what if forcing things is the one thing that's been making life harder all along? Don't try. That's it. Just 2 words. But imagine seeing those words carved on a gravestone. Not, he was a great guy, or rest in peace, but a command, an instruction that seems to go against everything we're ever taught about how to succeed in life. And that's exactly where you'd find them, on the tombstone of the writer Charles Bukowski. Now, this was a guy who was famous for being a hard-living, work-obsessed machine. He churned out thousands of poems, tons of short stories, 6 novels. The man was a creative force. So the question is, why on earth would his final message to the world be, don't try? It's a real puzzle, and we're going to solve it. So this brings us right to the heart of it, the big question for this whole explainer. What does it really mean to not try? Is it just a cool way of saying give up? Or is it pointing to something much deeper, a whole different way of living and creating? Well, let's find out. So first up, you gotta understand Bukowski's own philosophy. His life was definitely not about sitting around and waiting for things to happen. No way. It was this whirlwind of creative obsession. He had this famous line. He said, if you have to wait around for inspiration, just don't do it. If it doesn't come roaring out of you, forget about it. So you see, for Bukowski, don't try was never about being lazy. It was a warning against forcing it. Don't sit down and try to squeeze out a poem just because you want to be famous or make a quick buck. Let it come from this raw, honest, unstoppable place inside you. If you have to fake it, it's not worth it. Okay, now let's take a hard left turn and see how this idea gets even bigger. We're going to jump from a gritty 20th century poet all the way back to ancient Chinese philosophy. And believe it or not, we find a shockingly similar idea here. It's called Wu Wei. Wu Wei. It literally translates to something like non-action or effortless action. But again, this isn't about doing nothing. It's about acting so perfectly in tune with the way things are that your actions feel, well, effortless. Think about a great surfer riding a huge wave. They aren't fighting the ocean. They're moving with its power. That's Wu Wei. And here's the wild part. This is where these two totally different ways of thinking just click together. Bukowski's thing was acting from an internal fire, right? Wu Wei is about moving with the external flow of the world. But look at where they end up. Both of them are all about rejecting force. They both champion this raw authenticity, this smooth, spontaneous way of moving, whether it's putting words on a page or just living your life. So we have this really cool idea of effortless action, but let's be real for a second. It can sound a little fluffy, can it? I mean, how do we make that work in the real world, where we're always told that hard work pays off? It feels like a paradox. So let's unpack it. Let's just ask the question we're all probably thinking. Is this whole don't try, effortless action thing just a fancy philosophical excuse to sit on the couch and do nothing? It's a totally fair question, and the answer is a hard no. See, effortless action is not laziness. It's not giving up. It's actually the opposite of fighting with yourself. It's that amazing feeling when you're completely lost in what you're doing. You know, what athletes call being in the zone. Time just disappears and everything flows. It's all about lining up your actions with who you really are, instead of constantly struggling against your own nature. Okay, so we've looked at the poet, we've looked at the ancient philosophy. Now it's time to bring it all home. How do we actually take this big idea, this art of not forcing things, and, use it in our day-to-day lives? When you boil it all down, the answer to Bukowski's riddle is actually beautifully simple. It doesn't matter if you're writing a book, trying to fix a relationship, or picking a career path. We are always at our most powerful, our most effective, when what we're doing comes from a place that's natural and honest. The source I was reading for this explainer put it perfectly. The real key is to act without the addition of ulterior motives. What does that mean? It means you're not doing something to impress other people. You're not doing it because you feel like you should be doing it. You're doing it simply because the action itself is a true expression of you, right here, right now. So this whole thing really breaks down into a simple 3-step path. First, just pay attention to who you actually are, what you're genuinely drawn to. Step 2, let your actions come from that real honest place. And finally, step 3, Just try to let go of needing a specific result or needing other people to approve. It's all about the action itself. And that's where we'll end it, with one last question for you to think about. We spend so much of our lives pushing and grinding and forcing things to happen. But what if? What if your best work, your most creative ideas, your most authentic self doesn't come from gritting your teeth and trying harder? What if it comes from just taking a deep breath and letting go?